Catherine Elizabeth. Wilt thou have this man to thy wedded husband, to live together according to God's law in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love him, comfort him, honour and keep him, in sickness and in health? And forsaking all other, keep thee only unto him, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
Today on Context, is marriage worth saving? Are we programmed to commit to one person for life? I'll speak with the author of The History of Marriage and a couples counselor to explore those questions. I'm Lorna Dueck. You're watching Context, the show that looks at life beyond the headlines. Marriage is in the headlines again. A recent scandal involving Republican presidential candidate Newt Gingrich allegedly asking his former wife for an open marriage. An interview with Brad Pitt revealing that he and longtime partner Angelina Jolie have plans to marry and that it means something to make that commitment. For the first time in history, married couples are in the minority, while unmarried adults make up a larger percentage of the population. Cohabitating couples now account for around 18% of all couples in Canada, and that number is increasing. Today, we'll discuss, is marriage still relevant? Let's put it in context. All right, to help us recognize the changing societal views towards marriage and to get a better understanding of why it's happening, we've got two great guests. Elizabeth Abbott wrote the book, The History of Marriage. It's a great book. It's gotten a lot of buzz. And a psychotherapist and relationship expert, Kimberly Moffat, is a popular media spokesperson on couples and family. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. Kimberly, let's start with you. This marriage industry is growing, $96 billion, I think the U.S. is reporting, but the number of people getting married is smaller than ever. What's going on?
Absolutely. So in my practice as a psychotherapist and relationship counselor, what I've noticed is when I look back at all of the couples that I've seen over time, I have never worked with a couple who's waited until marriage to live together. So out of all the hundreds of couples that I've worked with, and individuals as well. So I think what's happening is that everybody these days is living together before marriage. And then the question comes, you know, with these big, expensive weddings that we have, who really wants to go through that to continue on in their daily lives? So couples are asking themselves, do we really want to have this expensive wedding? Maybe we should just wait a couple more years.
Elizabeth, that has got to be the biggest change of marriage in the last 100 years. Everybody is living together before they get married? Is sex the big change?
Not everybody is living together. And the ones who aren't living together, who get engaged and then don't live together, they get married, have a much higher success rate in marriage. And the people who are engaged and then they decide to live together, but they're engaged, they went through all that, they have a high success rate in staying married. So there's a lot about the intention of the relationship and the cohabitation.
Why then the increase in cohabitating? What do you think the reason is? It's not just because I don't want a big expensive marriage.
Well, I think a lot of couples want to kind of practice being married or practice being in that long-term committed relationship. And actually, there's a couple of reasons that are not so good reasons to move in together. And a lot of couples do it actually for financial reasons. They think it's so expensive to live nowadays. Why don't we just live together and we could save a lot of money doing that?
Okay, so that's an economic one. Elizabeth, let's go back to you and what you've learned about how we have been changing marriage, because here's, as you've looked historically over it, religion's had a big part in shaping how we think about what a couple should do with their life when they want to get together. Has it changed? Has the influence of that changed?
Well, it has. First of all, I should say marriage is always at the core of every society, and this is something that's really tricky now because fewer people are marrying, but religion always has had a part to play in our understanding of what we have to do and in getting married. But people did not in the past, up until pretty much the 20th century, have a great deal of choice. And arranged marriages were, the norm until well into the 19th century. So it was a different concept. The concept of being happy, of being able to get out of a marriage, these didn't exist. I mean, a marriage was what it was chosen for you, and you were stuck. You didn't get divorced because you couldn't get divorced. So.
But the attitudes towards all of that, and you know, we rolled that beautiful footage of the wedding everybody watched
Yes.
between William and Kate, but what probably isn't so well known is they were living together before they were married, and you have the Archbishop of York, the second highest in command of the Church of England, saying, it's like they wanted, I mean, he said it, they want to test the milk before they buy the cow. I couldn't believe it. That's a huge shift for a church leader to just nod that off.
Yes, and I think it was very ill-advised, and I think that it didn't even address the real issue. He should have said the sorts of things that we're saying here, and he should have talked about the role of religion. It seemed as if he was afraid of angering them, and so he was going to allow them to do it.
And
So.
Kimberly, with that kind of role modeling, I guess I must just sound like I'm from the Dark Ages to think that it's unusual that people shouldn't live together before they get married.
Well, actually, yeah, I completely agree with you there. But when we do look at the studies, the studies still show us that living together before marriage equals higher divorce rates. So when I speak with young couples, it's very important that they know the risks of living together before marriage.
3 out of 4 kids born to cohabiting parents will see their parents split up. So you see these risks that it isn't, even depression is higher for cohabitating, but everybody's doing it. What advice do you have to them then?
What I tell young couples when they're thinking about living together is it's a lot better to move in together with the intention of a long-term relationship. So a good way, a kind of a good segue to that is moving in together when you become engaged. And in this situation, you are ready for that long-term commitment. And what I find with couples is that, you know, when you live together, a lot of issues arise. So you're worried about leaving the toothpaste cap open and who's cleaning more. And there's all these daily domestic things that come up. And when you have a commitment that's a long-lasting commitment, you're a lot more likely to get through those daily things than if you have no commitment whatsoever. So in my situation, I decided to get engaged before moving in.
Okay, Elizabeth, as we look historically at marriage, this is a major shift that society is having this kind of conversation, isn't it?
It is, because marriage is now an individual thing, and it's not something that's dictated by your parents or your family. And because of egalitarianism, it's not an arrangement that women, for example, have to be in because they can't eat otherwise. So there's a great deal of choice, and there's a great deal of indulgence in expectation of all sorts of happiness, resolution, and so on in a marriage that is actually...
Never used to think that was the only thing that would make it work, happiness.
Well, it wasn't even an issue. Even if you hated your husband and you were unhappy, it was like, so what? You're married. You know?
Okay. All right, we're going to keep you both here till after the break. Let's carry on this conversation, but we want to find out what you think. Would you advise your children to live with their partner before marrying them? Give us a vote on that. And for you at home, send us your answers by phone, email, Facebook, Twitter. You can leave us a message on the website. So we'd love to know what you think. Be part of the conversation. Our studio audience is going to take a live vote, and we'll have those results when we come back. Plus, is it realistic to commit to one person for the rest of your life? And we'll explore that question next. But this past weekend, we visited a bridal show to speak with engaged couples about their decision to get married. Here's what they said.
Are you guys cohabiting right now?
No, we're not.
Yes.
Yes, we've been living together for 3 years now.
No. Actually, I had a preference to live together before getting married.
Yes, we're living in together.
We've been living together since December of last year.
Yes, for like 2 weeks now.